In this video, we will create a frequency and relative frequency table, a bar graph, and a pie graph from a sample of raw categorical data. So in this particular example, since I love to travel, we're going to suppose that we've interviewed 40 travelers to the state of Utah, and they're going to rank their favorite Utah national parks to visit. So Arches, Bryce Canyon, Capitol Reefs, Canyonland, and Zion. And just a disclaimer, I'm not making these totals in the raw data based on my personal preferences. I like all 5 Utah national parks. I think from day to day, my favorite park changes. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you, all the numbers are going to be different, so it'll be a variety for the frequencies and relative frequencies, the sizes of the pies on the pie graph, and the lengths of the bars on the bar graph. So here's some raw data, and each box represents one of the 40 travelers. Let's count these out. I'm going to circle the arches here in a pink color here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, there are 9 of the 40 said they like Arches the best. In a green, we'll go with Bryce Canyon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 for Bryce Canyon. We'll go blue for Capitol Reef. CR. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 for Capitol Reef. Go purple for Canyonlands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for Canyonlands. And then finally for Zion, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There will be 11 in this hypothetical for Zion. Okay, so these are going to be the raw frequencies there. So let's go ahead and go into our table here. It's going to be frequency and relative frequency tables. For the frequency, we just carry those values over. We're going to have Arches with a frequency of 9. Let me get back to the original color there. Bryce Canyon will have 7. Capitol Reef will have 5. Canyonlands will have 8, and Zion will have 11. And those will be the frequencies. And what we do for the relative frequency here, so the relative frequencies are simply the frequencies divide by the total for each category, which in this case, each of the 5 national parks is its own separate category. Okay, so we have 40 for the denominator for each of these. Let's see what these are. 9 divided by 40, that's going to be 0.225. 7 over 40 is going to be 0.175. 5 over 40 is going to be 0.125. 8 out of 40 is going to be 0.2. And finally, 11 out of 40 is going to be 0.275. So these as decimals here, we'll put those in. And these decimals can be converted to percent. It'll be handy for us to convert to percent for the pie graph. All right, so relative frequency for Arches, 0.225. Bryce Canyon, 0.175. Capitol Reef, 0.125. Canyonland, 0.2. And Zion, 0.275. Okay, so for this sample here, we're going to now convert the relative frequencies or the frequencies into these graphics. So for this bar graph here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a title. And so there's the title of the graph. Now I'm going to label the categories or the parks. For the national parks. On the horizontal axis. And I need to put frequencies on the vertical axis. So label the title, label the horizontal axis, label the vertical axis. And now we're going to draw bars with the proper lengths. And we're going to do just plain frequencies here. Arches, we're going to draw a bar here. And I'm going to draw, let's see, I used the pink at the start. We got pink, green, blue, purple, and brown as we went in alphabetical order. All right, so for arches, let's draw up here to the 9, about halfway between the 8 and the 10 here. And there's the bar for arches. For Bryce Canyon, we'll put a green here, and it's going to go up to 7, halfway between 6 and 8. There's the bar for Bryce Canyon. All right, for Capitol Reef, we're going to have a blue bar. It's going to be a height of 5. Go up halfway between 4 and 6. Make it line up a little bit better there. There we go. For Canyonlands, let's get the purple out. It's going to be a bar of height 8. And then for Zion, we got a bar of height 11. Go up to halfway between 10 and 12. There's the bar for Zion. And if we like, we could do a fill-in. I'm not going to do the fill-in there, but you can fill in if you'd like, creating a graphic like this. Okay, now for the pie graph. You could be rigorous here and do the proportion and say like the 0.225 frequency is set equal to how many degrees over 360 degrees. But I'm going to do an estimation here. So I'm going to think like the analog clock and put a 12 here, put a 1 about there, put a 2 about there, put a 3 there. Hang on, let me make the 3 is at 3.5 there. My radius is 3.5, so I'll put it right there. Put a 4 there, put a 5 there, put a 6 there, put a 7 there, put an 8 there, put a 9 there, put a 10 there, put 11 there. Each number on the clock corresponds to 1/12 corresponds to 1/12 of a full revolution or 8 1/3%. So as we go through these 22.5, 17.5, 27.5, the 20, and the 12.5, I'm first going to take the 12.5 for Capitol Reef. I'm going to make a bar on the graph going from the center of the circle out to the 12. And for Capitol Reef, this 1.125 is going to correspond to 12.5%, which is approximately 1.5 numbers on your clock. So I'm going to make my bar for for Capital Reef about that big. Capital Reef, 12.5%. Again, I'm going to go the other way to estimate the Bryce Canyon. So Bryce Canyon, the 17.5% for Bryce Canyon. It's a little bit more than 2 clock hands there. Let's draw one here slightly before the 10 o'clock. And we'll put Bryce Canyon there. (17.5%). Now let's see here. Capital Reef and Bryce Canyon. Now about Canyonlands, 20%. 20%, that's going to be slightly less than 2.5 clock hands. So 1, 2, about right there. Let's draw a line there. And we're going to have the pie for Canyonlands at 20%. And then for Zion, 27.5%. Now, we don't necessarily have to do this for all 5 of the national parks because once 4 of the 5 pie pieces are set, the last one will be set. All we have to do is just make sure that it's relatively reasonable. Okay, so 27.5%, that's going to be a little over 3 clock numbers here. 1, 2, 3, but slightly after the 4. Let's go with a slightly after 4 there. And it should be bigger than a right angle. That's another thing that you can use is if you have a right angle. Let's do that again. If you have a right angle, it's going to correspond to 25%. I'll draw a new one here. There we go. A 90-degree angle corresponds to 25%. So since this Zion is over 25%, the angle's got to be bigger than 90 degrees. Let's make it slightly bigger than 90 degrees there. Let's make it about right there. And there's going to be Zion's 27.5%. And then the arch is at 22.5%. Is less than 25%, so the angle should be less than a right angle. And kind of eyeballing that, that's going to be slightly less than a right angle there. So those are approximate sizes of pie pieces. Now you can be more rigorous if you'd like, if you have a protractor at hand or some software that can give you a more precise protractor measurement. You could have more exact pie piece than these. These are just roughly estimated. And that gives you a pie graph, and then if you want to fill in some colors, feel free to do so. There's broad brush, there's medium brush, there's broad brush, and then there's the narrow brush that you have available in the Notability. All right, so that gives us an idea of how to take that raw data and get some nice tables and some graphics out of it.